Hey guys, it's that time of the week again. It's
Woo!
another episode of the Brain Reaction.
Yeah, it is.
Number 4, and I'm going to try and make this one better than ever.
Yeah, we sure are. Once again, it's Jade Collins and Shane Gorman kicking it off for you, introducing some topics to you that aren't usually talked about much in the media in the way we'd like to hear about them. And we're very excited today. So,
Yeah, let's talk some shit.
yeah, let's
do
talk
what we
some
do
shit,
best.
our little ferals.
So, we'll just glance at, there's been a lot of interesting stuff in the media lately. There's been some pretty cool stories,
There definitely has been.
and we'll mull over a few of them, ones that we think you should hear about. Starting off on a lighter note, about a very serious topic. There's a US scientist has come out with a challenge. He will award anyone who can prove that global warming doesn't in fact exist $10,000.
So the challenge was issued by Dr. Christopher Keating, a professor who previously taught at the University of South Dakota. So this guy's legit. He probably has a bit of money too. And the US Naval Academy he also taught at. So according to a news release with award prize money, he said he'd award prize money to anyone who uses a scientific method to prove that human activity has not been a factor leading to climate change. And so we think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's funny, he's from he studied through the US Naval Academy, because it's also part of the US Navy's research division. Just the past couple of weeks, they found out a way to convert seawater into fuel.
That's amazing.
So that's there's only a little bit of news coming to light about that one, but think about that, what that'd do to the world's energy needs.
But also with them, we need to start thinking about how there is water depletion in the world.
Yeah.
So
With seawater though, it's stuff that we'd never be drinking anyway.
Yeah,
So
this is true.
that's stuff that we
But
could
we
use
might
for
need to
that.
drink it one day. We might need to find a way to convert it
Yeah.
into normal drinking water.
I could certainly go that way.
But yeah, so I think it's pretty cool purely because there's a lot of douchebags in the world. They're like, oh no, climate change doesn't exist, blah 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 blah. But come on, man, where's your facts and evidence? And this guy's actually putting out a challenge. So good on you.
Moving into your realm,
My realm.
and something that we talked about last week. So the predictions came true.
Yes, Jade predicted correctly, and Jeremy Meeks has been offered a modelling contract.
This is the very good-looking criminal, by the way.
Very, very incredible that I predicted that. Not really. Obviously, he's very symmetrical in the face, and due to publicity, if he were to model,
Baby blue eyes.
exactly,
He's
if he
just
were to,
dashing.
if he were to model for a company, a clothing company or whatever for any products, he would probably bring a lot of publicity to that company, that brand, that
Yeah.
product. So it's smart.
And we were talking this might keep him out of crime,
Yeah. So
provide him with opportunities.
at first we were like, fuck society, man, all these good looking people getting shit even though they're shit people. But then we're like, hey, you know what? He might not go back to jail and he might not be a repeat offender now.
Yeah.
So this could be his ticket out of poverty.
So all ex-cons, we need to start giving modelling contracts and to keep him off the streets.
Maybe not modelling contracts in specific, but
They're not all as good looking as him, that's for damn
definitely
sure.
not. We're looking at photos of him right now, so if I go quiet for a little bit, it's just because I'm admiring.
I'll join you on that one.
So yeah, so moving on.
So elsewhere in the news and moving to a little bit more of a serious topic, this is something that we're going to talk about in the next couple of weeks.
Talking about the not so serious side of it first, Julian Assange has also been offered a modelling job.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so we can't forget about that.
It's kind of hilarious. He's got to be... This is... I thought he would be losing his mind in the embassy.
Yeah,
which
what
he's
did
still
you call
in.
it before? Cabin fever or something?
He's probably getting some
Definitely.
serious cabin fever. It's a nice place to be and
But
all. But
I know when I'm in a room for way too long, I want to get out. Kind of like this
and
recording
he's
studio right
been
now.
in there
Kidding.
for a good few months
Yeah,
now.
exactly.
And
He has been. But what's so amazing about this story is that Vivienne Westwood, a very well-known designer in the fashion industry, also a very well-respected person that's interested in politics, etc., is actually a big fan of Julian Assange. And so she's been a major impact on her son, who's also a designer, Ben Westwood.
Yeah.
And now he wants to put Julian Assange into his modelling show, runway show, which will be held at the embassy. Obviously, because if Julian Assange walks out of the embassy, he'll be arrested.
yeah, he certainly is an interesting looking guy, and he reminds me of Andy Warhol in a sense. He's quite I think he pays a lot of attention to his appearance. Like in the past, he's had that long flowing silver hair,
Yeah, I
and
wouldn't
he
be
still
surprised if there's
does.
a little bit of Botox in that forehead there.
And
Looks quite smooth.
he's gone through a couple of different looks. Like he had the John Lennon glasses at one point, things like that. He used to wear trench coats and stuff. Like it was definitely, fashionably tuned.
We
But
we clearly don't. We're not taking him as being an actual model as a career
No.
seriously, because that's not what it's
no,
about.
but I can't say I'm surprised that he's taking this avenue.
Yeah, well, definitely like the opportunity to promote himself again, because obviously he comes in the media and then he goes away and then he comes back in. So I definitely think this would be good for both Ben Westwood, the designer, his mother Vivienne Westwood, as well as himself to promote all their.
It is bringing news back to Julian Assange, because I suppose he's been pushed out of the media lately.
Yeah.
Even though everything that he represents is still very relevant. The whole WikiLeaks
Exactly.
thing is an
It
incredibly
definitely
important
is.
thing,
It
and it's
definitely
still
is.
coming out with huge leaks every month now. And one of those leaks is something that we're going to be talking about most likely next episode. So stay tuned. It is a huge topic, and there is now a little bit of speculation from WikiLeaks that Tony Abbott has been involved in secret talks with different international banks about deregulating Australian banks.
Yeah, so we're not going to go into it too much now.
Because it's fucking huge.
But it's just a little bit ironic that at the same time Tony Abbott decides to deregulate university fees and banks and starts to talk about things like that.
And trying to delist forests and the Barrier Reef as World Heritage Zones.
WikiLeaks comes out with this information. So it wouldn't be a shock.
No, absolutely not.
Exactly.
Stay tuned on that one.
Yes.
It doesn't sound like a big topic, but
it's massive.
I'll put a pretty broad statement on it. America is in the state that it is now, and most of the world is in the state that it is now because of the deregulation of the banks in the 1980s in the United States during the Reagan administration.
Exactly.
So if you're interested in that one, stay tuned. But going back to Julian Assange, he is probably trying to bring a bit of media back, because he's like, hey guys, like, don't forget, I'm still in this embassy here. I've been here for months, and he can't leave.
Hello,
like if he leaves,
I'm stuck
he's gone.
in the Ecuadorian embassy.
But you remember why he's on the run, basically.
Yes,
right?
exactly. So basically he's on the run because governments don't like him, because he gave away a bunch of information about America and Australians, kind of information that they didn't really want people to know about. But also he's been charged with rape.
Yeah.
But we don't know if that's specifically true, and I think it's kind of ironic that as he's given out all this information, the government's been like, hey, you've raped someone, let's put you in jail.
Yeah, like, look, there's, he was in Sweden a couple of years ago. Like, the events apparently, or, reportedly happened long before the accusations then came out. Typical, right? But he was with these prostitutes, and it was apparently non-consensual or something.
But later on, the women actually came out and said, hey, no, we consented to this sex.
Yeah.
He just didn't use a condom.
Yeah, and then it was the police departments and the investigators involved that didn't want to withdraw the claims, despite the fact that the women involved were talking about dropping the charges.
Exactly.
So, look...
We're not too into conspiracies or anything that crazy.
Yeah, we are.
Oh, we kind of are. But it's kind of obvious that, hey, maybe the government just needs an excuse to arrest this guy, because he hasn't actually done anything wrong. He's given information to the public that's allowed to be given to the public. The government just didn't want to give it to the public.
Yeah. And, like, when you look at people like Bradley Manning, and you look at Kim.com, people that have effectively done nothing wrong, and in all senses done the right thing.
Similar to the journalist.
Yep.
Yep.
You piss off people in power, and you don't really get away with it, or you have a pretty hard fucking time, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. So we thought that was quite an interesting topic, and so next episode we've decided to further go into that for you guys, because we think there'll be much more to talk about it.
So Todd Carney, right? During the week, everyone would have seen this. Piss in his mouth. Did you see the photo?
No, I didn't.
You didn't see the photo? Holy shit. Okay, so a lot of people will know what I'm talking about, but okay, so there's probably not. Look it up.
I feel undereducated.
It's a new meme, like, taking it to the whole next fucking level. This is so much bigger than planking. I hope it doesn't catch on. And yeah, he was out on the town with his friends.
Oh!
And he...
Okay, yep.
The football player, yeah, the Sharks player. And
he decided to piss in his own mouth.
Yeah, and he got fired and all the rest of it. And...
footballers.
But it makes you think about, like, he was so well respected, a big celebrity footballer and stuff like that. And these people are on insane amounts of money. in Australia, like football players get paid, 6-figure salaries for just kicking a ball around and
For being
showing
talented at
up
what they're
training.
good at, and then suddenly their careers end, and it's like, what are you doing with your life?
Yeah, and then compared to American sports players,
Yeah, exactly. And then American sports players, it's just like a whole nother level. Millions, tens of millions of dollars contracts.
Tiger Woods apparently in his career has made up to $1 billion.
And we were just talking about it earlier. Sorry, something dropped in the studio, guys, if you've heard that. So me and Shane were just talking about earlier that we're kind of a little bit pissed off that people are being celebritized for things that they're talented at.
Yeah.
When there's doctors and there's firemen, and then and women and police officers that are doing such good in the world, but because they're not like aesthetically beautiful or anything like that, then they get underpaid and they're underappreciated.
Yeah.
And it kind of pisses me off.
Like, that's the thing. Like with these sports players and a lot of celebrities, they're in it because they love the sport. Or they love acting, or things like that. And I appreciate that. And it's not their fault that they're having tens of millions of dollars thrown at them. That just comes with it. I'm sure there are a lot of celebrities that are in it for the money, a lot of sports players that are. But at the end of the day, it's more... You got to turn the perspective back towards society, which is okay with this.
It's not their fault that they're becoming such
they're idolized.
Sorry.
They're put on a pedestal.
Yeah, thank you, Shane. It's not their fault that they're put on a pedestal. It's ultimately our fault. And so we need to sit here and we need to realize, hey, what the fuck? Like, maybe we shouldn't be reading so much shit about Kim Kardashian in the news, because what is she really famous for, people?
Get me started. Like, she literally is fucking famous for nothing. She literally has achieved nothing, contributed to society.
Maybe me and Shane should put out a sex tape, and maybe this show will go global. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah, well, I've always said, if you want to further your political career, release a sex tape. But if, like, all she's famous for or whatever is like her dad was O.J. Simpson's lawyer.
Yeah.
Nothing really that much to be proud of. Like, defended a man who, for lack of a better word, most probably did murder his fucking wife and boyfriend, and got away with it because he was a sports star.
Yeah, exactly.
Which relates back to what we're talking about now. But also, like, and then you've got these TV shows like Jersey Shore, Geordie Shore, all that shit.
Yeah.
And we're literally sitting around week after week watching these people do nothing but get fucked off their faces and just be so proud of the fact that they're unaspiring, unintelligent.
As a society and as a culture that we've created, we fucking crave it. We sit there and every week we're like, fuck yes, what are they going to be doing tonight? And it's like, is this what we've come to? Are we the type of people that we just feed off such small-minded stupidity?
Yeah, like, I understand that people in general like to see their lives as a narrative. I do. Everyone does, because it helps you put your own life into context in the grand scheme of things. To look at it like a story.
Yeah.
And that you're playing a role and playing something out. And that's why we gravitate towards drama. And I understand that, but I think we direct it, and the value surrounding that and where it leads us to is certainly a little bit fucked up.
Yeah, and I'd like to put out a challenge to everyone that listens to our show. Start to idolize people that are doing amazing things with their lives and that give up so much for people around them, and that are doing the right thing, not just because they're good looking.
Because this is the thing, like, when we talk about paramedics and firefighters and things like that, and doctors and scientists that
they have to do shit things. They have to do a lot of shit things.
Yeah, they work hard, don't get paid a lot for it, and what they're doing is bettering other people. It's not showing what they're capable of.
And I don't want to seem like a massive hypocrite, because I can go into a photo shoot and in a couple of hours earn a couple of grand or whatever, but at the same time, I also go to university and also trying to work really hard towards a career that I can have after I lose the aesthetics. Which sounds really... Do you get what I mean?
Don't count on that. I've seen a lot of foxy older women. But, yeah, no, it's right. It's like, how do you make these careers and how do you make these people seem sexy? Because, like, celebrities and sports stars, it's a sexy idea. It's high energy. It's entertaining.
As a society, we need to just flip it.
Yeah, you need... It comes back to changing that foundation of what we value in people. Is it what that person's capable of for themselves, or is it what is that person capable of for other people? Because there's something that I always I don't have a lot of morals and ethics and values that I live my life by. I'm not a bad guy, trust me. But the one that I do, and I only learned this in the past couple of years, but one that I live my fucking life by is no one will remember you for the things that you
Dude.
achieved and did for yourself and what you earned and things like that. People will only remember you for how you treated other people.
Exactly.
No one will be there on your deathbed and say, wow, wasn't it amazing all that money that guy made? Or, hey, wasn't it great all those crazy parties he went to and all that fun he had and all that power he earned?
Well, fuck, he had some nice houses.
Yeah, no one will ever look back at you on that. People will only say, shit, it's such a
He
a
inspired me
loss.
so much.
Yes,
or,
it's such a loss because he enriched people around him. He was so nice and generous, or she was so
well, thank God
lovely.
he died. Because he was an asshole.
Yeah, that's it. Like, and you know, we're happy to like look at this at the end of the day when your life's wrapped up. But that whilst you're in the journey, we seem to value this shit that we resent people for at
Exactly.
the end of it all.
And moving on to someone that will probably be remembered for a very long time after his death because of how he makes people feel. This dude,
The Asian Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
The North Korean leader, Kim
Jong-Un.
Kim Jong-Un.
Son of Kim Jong-il and grandson of Kim Sung-il.
Yeah, so he's a guy that's been celebritized throughout media as a person purely because his dad was the leader of North Korea and
Supreme leader.
Supreme.
Let's get that right.
Yeah, sorry, the all great leader. Yeah, we can't forget to say that because we don't want to get a knock on the door and a visit by anyone from North Korea.
Yes, we do.
Well,
our producer's in the corner saying, yes, we do.
No, but like, you know, it's funny we joke about that because if you actually badmouth Kim Jong-un or the government in North Korea, you'll probably get a knock at your door.
The embassy will come after you, and that's been proven. Was it this week that it happened?
That was a few weeks back.
Oh, sorry, a few weeks back. It's happened. So this guy, I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's actually on mirror.com.uk. Apologies. And basically, there's a poster that's been put out on the front of a hairdressing salon of Kim Jong-un's hairstyle. So we all know it's actually a little bit indie. If you ask me, a little bit alternate. I've seen this.
Yeah.
I've seen this hairstyle before in
It's
Newtown.
It's like heap short sides.
It's like shaved on
and
the
then
sides
parted on top.
like my ex-boyfriend had this hairstyle. It's not uncommon, you know what I mean? So I don't think it's unfair that he's decided for every man in North Korea to have this hairstyle.
Yeah, like he's the epitome of fashion and style, but yeah, it as much as it is very humorous to look at, in a sense, like it's funny to look at how much attention he gets in the media. Like they made the movie Team America,
Yes.
and that was all about taking the piss out of North Korea. And then there's another one coming out called The Interview, and that's like Seth Rogen and that other
And James
dude,
Franco.
James Franco. And like North Korea at the moment is nearly threatening war over the fact that this movie coming out because it's about they're going to assassinate Kim Jong-un and stuff. But the reality behind North Korea is fucking astounding.
Yeah, it's quite disgusting how.
Yeah.
Not quite disgusting. It's fucking disgusting how they treat their people. Probably the most oppressed people, or one of the most oppressed people in the entire world.
And it's so visually apparent as well. Like, people in the International Space Station have said that when they look at the Earth at nighttime, the whole planet lights up where there's people. And North Korea is literally a black spot because the country is like locked into the 1950s.
Yeah.
Like after the Korean War wrapped up, and you know the parallel was set up, and the DMZ and everything was all set in stone. The country hasn't moved forward at all, and it's just been...
Because the government doesn't want them to start developing, because if they develop, then they could get out of control, and they can't control it anymore.
But embargoes and things like that from the international community have meant that they haven't been able to be involved in trade. So they've missed out on globalization. Like, they locked themselves out at the start of all of that. You look at South Korea. South Korea is one of the most thriving Asian countries right now.
Exactly.
And for a long time. Like, they are cutting edge of technology.
So many Asian countries at the moment, they're becoming the leaders of the world.
And then their big daddy China, just like to the northwest of them.
Which I'm actually going to in a couple of weeks to study.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that. So bring back some information.
So this is also another supposed communist country, lax communist country, that you would think would probably support North Korea. But in fact, they ripped them off.
Yeah.
So one of North Korea's biggest exports is fish, right? And
really?
North Korea will sell big shipments of fish to China. China will buy it at a really undercut price. They'll put it in storage, and then when there's a food shortage in North Korea, which trust me, happens a fucking lot, they'll sell it back to them at more than they bought it for them.
Which is kind of a shit go by China because
Yeah.
they're kind of supporting the government treating their people
Yeah.
like shit then because the people clearly aren't getting paid enough for what they're doing,
And you think like
their labour work.
China would receive a lot of refugees from North Korea as well, or the ones that get out. There's a lot of really interesting stories out there
Yeah,
about
there definitely
escapees from detention camps and like the whole cult of personality that surrounds all of their supreme leaders and has is astounding. Like Kim Jong Il's ones were absolutely fascinating. Like they said that he was born atop a mountain by a virgin mother and he floated down a stream in a basket and there was like rainbows and shit that day and all this
fucking
shit
hilarious.
happened and a unicorn was spotted. I'm not kidding. Like this is dead set what they actually believe because they're taught to believe all this stuff and that he never used the bathroom. Like he was exempt from he never took a shit in his life.
Because that's not pretty.
Yeah,
And
that's
because girls don't shit either.
they don't though.
Yeah, we don't. It's
Yeah,
lollies.
I thought so.
Yeah.
But like it's and we look at North Korea as well as like this troubled child that needs to be disciplined, but it's so sad that that's the way that we look at it. Like I don't blame a lot of countries for looking at it that way. They're always rattling the saber and saying we'll nuke you every Tuesday. But like you have to look at the millions of people who are stuck in North Korea.
And it's really fucking sad. Like, here we are sitting in a studio recording this right now, and people are being treated like absolute shit. And
Yeah.
I feel really helpless.
And it's to the point where they're not even able to vocalize their discontent because you'll get murdered.
Exactly. Which
Or
comes
labor camps.
Which comes back to what I was saying before about this hairdressing salon that they put an ad basically, guys, at the front of their hairdressing salon, and it said, it's a photo of Kim Jong-Un, and it says bad hair day, 15% off all gents cuts through the month of April. It's quite comical, we have to say.
It's taking the piss out of it. And it does get, the whole situation gets taken the piss out
But
of a lot.
what actually happened was, then two North Koreans from the North Korean embassy in London, then went to the hairdressing salon and was like, hey, you have to take it down, otherwise or else.
Yeah.
Which is, it's kind of like them saying, we're greater than you, do it now. But they don't realise that they don't have the power they have in their own country, in other countries around the world.
Yeah. No, it's true. And like going back a little bit more history with North Korea, like if you watch the general news and you hear all the threats that come out of North Korea, there's a sad reality behind a lot of the threats that they use. North Korea uses these threats, and this isn't my opinion. This is legit. This is supported. They use the threats as a way to instigate, like dialogue between other countries, and other countries like the United States would say, "All right, why are you complaining now?" And then the dialogue would begin, and they would establish like aid trades, and they would send them food and things like that. And that's pretty much a lot of the time you hear North Korea coming out with a crazy threat because they want to speak the international community and they want to get some food off it usually.
Yeah.
Things were actually looking up in the later 90s with like US North Korea relations, and then actually when September 11 kicked off, that fucked North Korea real bad because then North Korea was labeled as, because when George Bush came out, it's like, you know, if you've got weapons of mass destruction, if you're a terrorist organization, threatens democracy, yada yada yada, you know, we're coming for you, we're gonna kick some ass. He said that. He said we're gonna kick some ass. The US president said that, but so that locked them out even more, even though they weren't directly involved in that. And so then they got viewed as a terrorist organization by the US State Department.
Right.
Trade negotiations broke right down. And only now, like, there's a slight indication that, you know, relations between North Korea and some other Western countries are starting to improve.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't take the threats as literal. It actually, it's really a desperate cry from North Korea saying...
For help.
Yeah, shit is going down here. But,
yeah, well, we can't really.
It is a really interesting topic, and there's a lot of books and documentaries out about people who've escaped the regime and stuff, and they're really interesting. I really recommend if you like the topic.
Sorry, I got a message.
Have a listen. North Korea's on here. They know you're shit
yeah,
talking them.
yeah. Well, that was just North Korea telling us to shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Let
guys.
them come. Seriously, if anyone from North Korea is hearing this, send someone to us, please.
Oh my god.
We'd love the media attention.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't know if are we gonna introduce this topic?
Yeah, fuck it, why not?
Yeah, sorry.
Big shout out
sorry,
to my
Adrian.
boy.
Sorry, Adrian.
Yeah, he didn't want us to talk about this. Big shout out to my boy
Rolf Harris, what happened, you asshole?
84 years
Suck
back to
it.
back, convinced people he was not a pedophile somehow.
I think the goatee gave it away, if you ask me.
Yep.
You piece of shit.
Like, come
Just
on.
saying.
How was he not? How is this surprising? But, like, when looking at the reality of it,
How's
it's
his wife
fucking
still standing
appalling.
next to me is what I want to know.
Yeah.
If that was my husband, I'd be like, laters, like, get the fuck out of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to
And
stop swearing.
it's like, what was his name? Seville. Is it Jerry Seville? Jimmy Seville, sorry.
Yeah,
Jimmy Seville
Jimmy
is,
Savile.
he's like England's version of Rolf Harris. He's dead now, but roughly the same age. He was friends with Rolf Harris as well, and he was like a game show host, and he kind of looked like Rolf Harris. He had like white hair, he wore weird glasses, he had real fucked up teeth, and he was out touching kids. He was going to hospitals. This news has come out recently. He was going out to hospitals and going to the morgue for a photo shoot and touching up the dead bodies.
There's an actual word for that.
Necrophilia?
Oh, man, that's weird.
Yeah.
Not about that, hey.
But,
That's super weird.
and then, like, with Rolf Harris, and it's just such a shame, like, because how
Because
many
he painted-
childhoods was that killed?
I know, and he painted the Queen. How would the Queen feel right now? I don't think she'd feel too good about herself.
Probably not, no.
Or if she even gave a shit. That's questionable.
Let's assume that she is a good queen.
Yeah.
But like, and he performed at her Diamond Jubilee thing only like 2 or 3 years ago or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Or wasn't
And
it like the beginning of this
the
year?
fact that he was charged with how many counts? I think it was 12 counts of
But look,
sexual
I would
assault.
be happy. I would be happy to say that there's probably more out there.
Yeah, like
I would feel
imagine
safe
how
in
many
making
people
that
didn't
assumption.
come forward, or
That's
how
it.
many people don't even remember
Because-
I was so young.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the youngest one was 7 years old. That's absolutely disgusting.
And like, because he's a celebrity, you're like, are they really going to talk out? Who's going to believe them and things like that? Which is a real shame. And the most disgusting part about it is during the time when he was actively touching people, he brought out like a video about how not to get molested and how to speak out if you're getting touched up. How
Yeah.
fucked is that?
Yeah, it almost makes you think like maybe he is a little bit fucked up in the head. Like,
Well, he
I
is
don't know.
definitely. Like,
oh yeah, for sure you have to be.
I don't really understand like the whole. There really needs to be some conclusive investigation into the psychology behind people who are child molesters and things like that, because I don't understand the appeal. Like,
I think
is
there
he looking at
actually-
12-year-old girls and going, "Yeah, she's down for it"?
You know what? This actually brings up such a great topic about a sex offender register.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Like, what was the one that we had
Ferguson.
Dennis Ferguson. And his residence was pretty much always made public because he was a sex offender. Because this is what happens. You're a sex offender, you're put on a list. It's worse in America too. You're put on a list, and basically schools and pretty much anyone who wants to know can find out if you live in their community and find out where you live. Yeah.
So basically, we're of two minds about this. Well, I personally am as well. So
I sit on the fence a bit too.
yeah, also sitting on the fence purely because I don't know. Like, I suppose I don't feel sorry for these guys because they're disgusting. But what happens if you have a sex offender list and people start going to their houses and like then getting themselves in
Yeah,
trouble?
and Dennis Ferguson ended up mysteriously dead.
Mysteriously dead.
Yeah, like he did though, and people were going to his house and leaving a coffin on his front door and shit.
Yeah, that's like
It's fucked up. Like,
not because he died then, because
Yeah.
a part of me is kind of like, yeah, you kind of deserve to. The humanity side of me.
yeah, it's hard not to like you.
to feel
I
really
can
emotional
understand
about the whole thing.
why people feel that way. It
Yeah.
probably isn't the right way to feel about that way. Like, as a society, we probably want to move away from, those more barbaric tendencies to wish death upon, serial killers and stuff. But I can certainly understand.
Yeah, I'm sure if you had, I personally have an 8-year-old sister, and when I hear stories about little kids
Yeah.
being molested and stuff, it makes me
I'm not
so
gonna
sick.
play some pretentious faggot who says, "Oh, no, let the justice system sort them out, and they should, let's not kill them," stuff like that. Like, it was my family, I wouldn't even
Yeah.
have the conversation. I'd be the first one there to
Yeah.
drive a fucking pick into his head or something.
You'd be very fucking angry.
Yeah.
Yeah, so very of two minds about that, and it'd be interesting to see if Australia actually does bring it in.
Yeah.
My mum personally wants it to come in, obviously, because she has an 8-year-old daughter, and because she knows what it's like to be a mum. You'd want to know if there was, like, people in your
Yeah.
area that could be a potential risk and a danger.
There was leading back to something we spoke about last week as well, about we briefly went over the fact that chaplaincy program in the in that the Liberal government was trying to bring into the schools got said it was unconstitutional. But there was a suggestion instead, and this got knocked back, which is bullshit, but there was a suggestion that instead of having a chaplaincy program, have a group of mental health professionals go to schools instead and be funded.
Fuck yes.
Yeah.
I cannot say fuck yes to that enough. Like, fuck yes.
Not just for people that suffer from anxiety and depression and bullying and stuff like that.
Which we were talking about the other week, where 1 in 3 children in primary school actually suffer from anxiety. So, and that obviously is going to lead to so many more issues in high school.
You know, a lot of people that are involved in things like pedophilia, serial killers, sex offenders, and things like that
start out with smaller issues like depression and anxiety and bipolar. And
sadistic tendencies start off very young.
Yeah.
And it comes from things that have been rooted in their childhood. And, you know, the ordinary teacher might not identify this, but a mental health professional probably will.
Exactly.
Think of how this might change people's lives. Think about how it might save lives down the track.
Mental health is such an underappreciated service in Australia, and I'm so over people being like, hey, you know what, like, it's becoming more accepted and more widely talked about. Really, it's not. It's still swept under the rug. People still put their head in the sand. People still think, hey, it's depression. Oh, you can't see the wound, so we can't really fix it.
And if you see, like, some, you know, homeless guy ranting and raving on the street, you're like, oh, I'm going to stay away from that. That's a bit fucked
But
up.
hey, that was a kid one day. That's someone's son or someone's daughter, and we could have fixed that as a nation, and we can prevent that as a nation.
Yeah.
So let's fucking take the...
And this whole, like...
Do it. Let's fix
this
it.
This movement towards the support of mental health, which I fully get behind, is relatively new. Like, the way that we used to perceive...
Yeah, definitely, like...
mentally ill
people. A couple
people.
of years ago, people with depression were still getting zapped in the head, you know what I mean?
Or they've got the devil in them, like going further back, like when the church had to take over
witches
most of
and
the
things
treatment.
like that.
Yeah. And like, you look at, like, even if you look at it from an economic perspective, like, people who are mentally ill are generally unable to involve themselves in things like work and society as a whole. And... like, they create family problems. Not that it's, you know, particularly their fault, but they do. And then, you know, other people are stressed and unproductive. And
it doesn't just affect one person. It affects an entire group of people around them, which then affects whoever they work around and associate. And it's just, what the fuck's a chaplaincy program, Abbott? Like, honestly, let's put some more money into our mental health services.
Yeah, and I think starting in a school is a good idea.
Yeah,
because, you know, a lot of people's issues start from a younger age. It's not like you're suddenly... 35, had a great life, and then, now I've got anxiety and depression. And I'm sure that does happen, but for the majority of cases, I don't really think so.
Just putting a little personal opinion into that. My mum's actually a teacher. She's graduated her Masters of Teaching a few years ago, and she works in, I'm not going to say what school she works in, obviously, but she works in a public school, and she sees kids come in and out every single day that are really messed up in the head. And she comes home sometimes, and she's like, hey, this kid's going to be a murderer, like, joking around, obviously, but at the same time... these are some really fucked up kids that really need help.
Well, what was that? I really can't remember his name, and I wish I could. Maxine Carr was his girlfriend's name. It was the guy.
Was she attractive? Why do you particularly remember?
I remember her name because it's similar to someone else I know. But a couple of years ago in England, there were 2 girls that were murdered together. They were about 11 years old. I remember the photos.
By the kid?
No, not. But I remember that one. But
okay,
there was.
Sorry.
He was the janitor at the school, and he was a sadistic liar, and he was a fucking real good liar. Like, he got news interviews before they looked at him as a suspect. Like, he was just interviewed on the street, like, oh, how do you feel about this? He's like, oh, yeah, it's tragedy and shit like that. And he got away with it for fucking ages. And then it turned out that he murdered them. But the thing is, and then they went back and they said, this guy's had sadistic tendencies since he was a kid. Like, he murdered a puppy at school once. If there's someone there that's...
if someone can identify this early, then yeah.
You know, like, if he was helped as a kid, would those 2 girls be dead?
And is a priest going to be able to do this? Is a chaplain be able what are they called?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
no, because I don't think they understand the, like, the subtleties and also how complex mental health issues tend to be.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah, so I think those are our main topics that we wanted to talk about for today. Are you cool with that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I just think a lot of what we talked about really revolves back to how we value things. Like, you know, we make fun of really dark situations, but, like, things like North Korea. But, you know, we should be taking a different approach because it is a big cry for help in the way that they act a lot. And then, like, with mentally ill people, like, we should look at it as a challenge that we need to overcome, not one that we need to avoid.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, no, absolutely.
So, just wanted to say thank you heaps again for listening in this week, and we hope you enjoyed our topics. Basically, I've still been getting lots of messages through private direct messages on Instagram and on my Tumblr.
Oh, I finally got an Instagram.
Yay, Shane got Instagram.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much the only person that likes his photos at the moment, so...
Give us a join.
Holler
will ya?
at Shane.
Follow me.
Yes, follow him. I'll tag him today in one of my posts so you guys know. How good's my grammar when I'm not at university? Hey. Anyway, let's not laugh at myself. So you guys know who to follow. And yeah, so JD Daisy, JADIE, Daisy.
This will all be in the description, so.
Yeah,
Is my
this will be in
Instagram?
writing. But
Yeah,
we've
on
got
the link below.
we've got some artwork coming out too. So we'll let you know about that by next episode. And on the Facebook page, we've got a logo apparently, and it looks really cool.
Do we?
But yeah,
Oh,
and we're trying
have you
our
seen
very
it?
best to move this to film. Yeah, I have. It's really cool. It's like a light bulb head dude with the brain reaction coming out of it.
That's fucking sick.
But yeah, we're trying very hard to move this over to film. It's proving to be a little bit challenging, but bear with us and you'll get to see our
But
pretty faces.
we stepped up to a studio today, and we shout out to the Mars Hill Cafe for helping our team out.
Shout out to Helmet, the recording artist that we talked about last week with his Bus for a Change thing coming up. Bus for a Cure thing
Yeah,
coming
Bus
up,
for a Cure,
which is on the 8th. It's Saturday, the 18th of July.
just
and,
putting a quick promotion in for that again. Yeah,
and that's on at Hyde Park from about 6:30 onwards on that Saturday, and it's a bunch of busk performances, raising awareness and doing fundraising for cancer and for Crohn's disease as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So it
so.
does two kind of different charities, and there's some pretty hot musos there. So I suggest ladies go down there and support.
Helmet himself is actually dashing.
Yeah,
but
I thoroughly enjoy his style.
Yeah.
personally.
So, and if anyone wants anything talked about on the show, please keep coming.
Please let us know, please. And yeah, over and out, my fellow ferals.
Thanks for listening
We
again,
love you guys,
and we'll talk to you next week.
Mwah.